December 4th, 1872. Middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Captain David Morehouse is standing on the deck of his ship, the Dei Gratia, when he sees something that doesn't belong. A brigantine, about 600 miles west of Portugal, sailing in these bizarre zigzags, like whoever's steering can't make up their damn mind which way to go. Morehouse grabs his spyglass, gets a closer look, and his stomach drops. He knows that ship, the Mary Celeste. He'd had dinner with her captain, Benjamin Briggs, just a month ago back in New York. They'd talked about routes, weather, the usual captain stuff. Good guy, solid sailor, not the type to be steering drunk. But something's wrong. The sails are half set, ripped in places. The ship's drifting. Nobody's moving on deck. Morehouse tells his first mate, Oliver DeVoe, to take a few men and row over. Check it out. Maybe Briggs got sick. Maybe the crew mutinied. Maybe pirates hit them and left the ship adrift. DeVoe climbs aboard around 3 p.m., walks the deck, checks the wheel, calls out. Nothing. He goes below. Still nothing. Not a soul. 10 people. Gone. Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, 7 crew members, just erased. But here's the thing, the ship's fine. Better than fine, actually. The cargo hold is full. 1,701 barrels of raw industrial alcohol, all strapped down, totally intact. 6 months of food in the galley, fresh water in the barrels. Hell, there's even still tobacco in the crew's pipes sitting on the table, like they were mid-smoke and just walked away. In the captain's cabin, DeVoe finds a sewing machine, thread still in the needle, like Sarah Briggs had been working on something and stopped halfway through. A child's toys scattered on the floor, a bottle of cough medicine on the shelf. The ship's wheel is spinning free, the compass smashed, the lifeboat gone. And hanging off the back of the ship, there's a frayed rope trailing into the water, like something had been tied to it, something that broke free. DeVoe finds the ship's log. Last entry, November 25th, 9 days ago. Captain Briggs wrote about their position near the Azores. Fair weather, routine stuff. Then, nothing. No fight, no storm, no fire, no bodies. No blood. Just an empty ship drifting through the ocean like a floating tomb, except there aren't even any bodies to bury. What makes a man like Benjamin Briggs, a guy who's been sailing his whole life, who just bought a stake in this ship with his own money, who's got his wife and baby daughter aboard, what makes him grab a lifeboat and row away from a perfectly good vessel into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? You don't abandon a ship unless you think staying on it is worse than dying at sea, and Briggs knew exactly what dying at sea looks like. So what the hell was on that ship that scared them more than drowning?
Here's what you need to understand about Benjamin Briggs. This guy didn't do stupid things. 47 years old. Son of a sea captain, been sailing since he could walk, deeply religious, didn't drink, didn't gamble, the kind of guy who went to church every Sunday and read the Bible before bed. New York shipping companies loved him because he was boring in the best way, predictable, reliable, never took risks. This was not a man who panicked. On November 7, 1872, Briggs made a call that probably saved 2 lives and doomed 3 others. He decided to bring his family on the voyage to Genoa. His wife Sarah, 37, sharp as hell, had sailed with him before, packed up their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia Matilda, and came aboard. Their 7-year-old son, Arthur, stayed behind in New York for school. That decision would haunt Arthur for the rest of his life. Briggs hand-picked his crew. Albert Richardson, first mate, 28, solid sailor from Maine. Andrew Gilling, 25. Danish guy, had worked American ships for years. Then 4 experienced seamen, Volkert and Bose Lorenzen, brothers from Germany, Arian Martens, Gottlieb Gondeschall, and Edward William Head, the cook. 7 men total. This wasn't a desperate crew scraping for work. This was a hand-picked team you'd trust your child's life with. The Mary Celeste herself wasn't some rust bucket. Built in 1861 in Nova Scotia, 103 feet long, been sailing successfully for over a decade. Briggs had recently become part owner, put his own money into her, supervised repairs, upgraded her rigging. This ship was his investment, his family's future. The cargo was straightforward, 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol loaded by the Meissner-Ackermann Company. Raw ethanol headed for Genoa to be used in manufacturing. Dangerous? Sure, but it was a standard shipment. Briggs had hauled volatile cargo before. They left New York on a clear November day. For 2 weeks, everything went exactly as planned. Briggs kept detailed logs, noted their position every day, wind conditions, weather, ship status. The Atlantic was rough in November, some big swells, shifting winds, but nothing a crew like this couldn't handle. Nothing unusual, nothing scary. November 25th, 8 a.m., Briggs makes his final log entry. They're about 6 miles off Santa Maria Island in the Azores. Position, 36 degrees 56 minutes north, 27 degrees 20 minutes west. Weather's fair, everything's fine. That's the last thing Benjamin Briggs ever wrote. 9 days later, the Mary Celeste is found sailing by itself. No captain, no crew, no family. Just an empty ship moving through the water like a ghost that doesn't know it's dead yet. What happened in those 9 days? What did they see? What did they hear? What the hell scared a man who'd spent his entire life on the ocean, a man who'd weathered storms and navigated through icebergs so badly that he grabbed his wife and toddler and climbed into a lifeboat? Because whatever it was, it convinced him that staying on that ship meant dying worse than drowning.
When DeVoe and his men searched the Mary Celeste, what freaked them out wasn't what they found, it was what they didn't find. Go below deck, crew quarters, sea chests still locked, money inside, letters from home, personal stuff you don't leave behind unless you're running for your life or you're already dead. Captain's cabin, Sarah Briggs's melodeon, a little pump organ, sitting there untouched, her sewing basket next to it, the child's toys on the floor, medicine on the shelf, everything normal, everything wrong. But some things were missing, important things. The chronometer, that's the expensive instrument captains use to calculate longitude, gone. The sextant, used for navigation, gone. The ship's official papers, crew list, cargo manifest, registration documents, all gone. You know what that means? It means Briggs took them on purpose. He grabbed the tools you'd need to navigate and the papers you'd need to prove who you were, like he was planning to come back, like he thought he'd be rescued and would need documentation. Up on deck, the evidence got weirder. The main hatch, the big cover over the cargo hold, was just lying on the deck, not secured, not battened down, just off, like someone ripped it open in a hurry. Both pumps had been pulled apart, but when DeVoe checked the bilge, there was only 3.5 feet of water, totally normal for a ship this size, not even close to sinking. Hanging off the stern, that frayed rope, trailing into the ocean. Clearly something had been tied there, the lifeboat probably, and at some point the rope snapped, or got cut, or came loose. DeVoe went to the galley, and this is the part that made his skin crawl. Breakfast, half made. Kettle on the stove, cold. Plates set out, food laid out on the counter, salt pork, bread, dried fruit, coffee pot with dregs still in it, like the cook had started making the morning meal and just stopped, walked away mid-task, didn't put anything away, didn't clean up, just left. Who abandons breakfast? You don't just walk away from a hot meal unless the world is ending. It means whatever happened, it didn't take an hour, it didn't take 10 minutes, it took seconds. Then there's the cargo hold. This is where it gets interesting. DeVoe pries open the hatch. Smell hits him immediately, strong alcohol vapor. He counts the barrels, all 1,701 accounted for, but 9 of them, 9 barrels in the forward section, are empty. Not opened, not pried apart, just empty. Like they vented their contents naturally, leaked somehow. And here's the critical detail. Those barrels were made of red oak, not white oak, red oak. Big difference. Red oak is porous, it breathes, which means alcohol vapor can seep through the wood, especially in the right temperature and pressure conditions. No fire damage, no scorch marks, no explosion. The ship's fine. But that smell, that thick chemical stink of alcohol fumes hanging in the air. That's the thing nobody could explain. If the ship was fine, if there was no storm, no leak, no fire, then why the hell did Captain Briggs look at this situation and decide the only option was to get everyone into a lifeboat and row away? He would have known that was a death sentence. A small lifeboat in the open Atlantic in November, you'd last maybe a day, 2 if you were lucky. Briggs knew that. He'd seen men die at sea. So what was he more afraid of than drowning?
December 18th, 1872. The Mary Celeste gets towed into Gibraltar. And immediately, everyone starts pointing fingers. The Vice Admiralty Court opens an investigation. Sir James Cochrane presiding. Attorney General Frederick Solly Flood takes charge. And right away, he's convinced this was murder. He thinks Captain Morehouse and his crew killed everyone on the Mary Celeste, dumped the bodies, and claimed salvage rights. Problem is, that theory makes 0 sense. They bring in Captain R.W. Schufelt, a naval surveyor, to examine every inch of the ship. He finds what looks like bloodstains on the deck, finds a sword in Captain Briggs' cabin with dark streaks on the blade. Solly Flood's practically salivating, this is it, proof of violence. Except it's not. They send the samples to Dr. J. Petrone, the chemical analyst in Gibraltar. He runs tests, comes back with results. Not blood, just rust and organic residue. The sword probably hadn't been touched in months. No signs of a fight, no signs of struggle, nothing. Morehouse and his crew testify under oath. Their story checks out perfectly. They'd left New York 8 days after the Mary Celeste. They were sailing a parallel route. They spotted her by pure chance. The salvage reward they'd get, about 1/5 the value of the ship and cargo, was decent money, but nowhere near enough to justify murdering 10 people and risking the noose. After 3 months of digging, the murder theory collapses. So investigators start grasping at straws. Maybe it was a storm. Nope. Ship's in great condition. Briggs' last log entry mentioned fair weather. Maybe an underwater earthquake. The Azores have seismic activity. Maybe a tremor convinced Briggs the hull was cracked. Except surveyors checked, no damage. Hull's solid. Maybe a sea monster. Yeah, newspapers actually ran with this. Giant squid attacks were a popular theory in the 1870s. 0 evidence, obviously, but people were desperate for an explanation. Then someone floats the theory that actually makes sense. Those 9 empty barrels, industrial alcohol, raw ethanol, stored in red oak barrels which are porous. In the right conditions, alcohol vapor can build up in the hold. Enough vapor in a confined space, and you've got a bomb waiting to go off. Here's the theory. Vapors built up. Maybe there was a minor ignition, not enough to cause real damage, but enough to blow the main hatch covers off, make a loud bang, fill the hold with fumes. Imagine the smell. Not just a whiff of booze, a thick, choking cloud of ethanol that makes your eyes sting and your lungs burn. Briggs doesn't see a leak. He sees a bomb, and he's standing on the fuse. He's got his wife and baby daughter below deck. He's got seconds to the side. So he makes the call.
everyone into the lifeboat, tie a rope to the ship, row a safe distance away. Wait for the ship to explode or for the fumes to clear. Then row back. Except the rope breaks or comes untied, and the Mary Celeste, perfectly intact, perfectly seaworthy, just sails away. They watch it disappear over the horizon, and then they die, slowly, in the middle of the ocean. That's the only theory that fits. Briggs wasn't reckless. He was trying to save his family, and it killed them.
March 14th, 1873. The investigation closes. No answers. The Vice Admiralty Court files its report and basically shrugs. They don't know what happened. Nobody knows. And 152 years later, we still don't. 10 people climbed into a lifeboat on or around November 25th, 1872, and vanished. Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, 7 sailors, all gone. No bodies ever washed up, no wreckage from the lifeboat, no clothing, no personal effects, nothing. The Atlantic swallowed them whole and never gave them back. In the early 2000s, modern investigators and historians revisited the alcohol vapor theory using period-accurate reconstructions and chemical modeling. Their conclusion? It's plausible. Red oak barrels are porous. Industrial alcohol evaporates. In a sealed cargo hold, vapor can accumulate fast. If conditions are right, temperature, pressure, concentration, you can get a flashover. Not a full explosion, just a sudden release of pressure that blows hatches off and makes a hell of a noise. If Briggs smelled fumes and heard that bang, he'd think the ship was seconds away from igniting. And with his family aboard, he wouldn't hesitate. He'd get everyone off, tie a line, row to safety, wait it out. But if that line snapped, and in rough Atlantic swells it easily could have, then they're just floating in a tiny boat with no way back. The Mary Celeste sails on without them. They drift, and in November, in those waters, you don't last long. Hypothermia, dehydration, exposure. Maybe a day, maybe 2. Did Sarah hold Sophia as the cold set in? Did the crew try to row toward land, knowing they'd never make it? Did Briggs watch his ship disappear and realize he'd just killed everyone he loved trying to save them? We'll never know. The Mary Celeste kept sailing for another 12 years, got sold, changed hands, eventually ended up run aground off the coast of Haiti in 1885, deliberately wrecked in an insurance scam. Pathetic end for the most famous ghost ship in history. Today, the only thing left from that voyage is Captain Briggs's logbook, sitting in an archive somewhere. Last entry, November 25th, 1872. Position noted, weather fair, everything fine. And then, nothing. Just silence. People love mysteries because they want answers. They want closure. They want to know what happened. But sometimes, the ocean doesn't give you that. Sometimes 10 people just disappear, and all you're left with is an empty ship and 1,000 questions. What did Briggs see that morning? What did he smell? What did he hear that made him think staying aboard meant death? We'll never know. And maybe that's the real horror of the Mary Celeste. Not that they died, it's that they did everything right. Briggs made the safe choice. He followed the protocol. He tried to be a hero for his family, and the Atlantic punished him for it. The ocean doesn't care about your logic. It doesn't care about your good intentions. It just takes, and it never explains why. Sleep well tonight. If mysteries like this keep you up at night, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Dark Dimensions X and hit that bell, because the ocean's not done keeping secrets.